Hi y'all, welcome back to my shop. Mike Peace here with a September 1st Four Ways collaboration video where the team, Richard Reffin, Thomas Slav, Thomas Etch, and Sam Angelo and myself all tackled the same project. This one I think was recommended by Richard Reffin. Uh, you're going to see all of us look at it a little differently, and I think you'll find something to learn. You can watch the other videos with the links below underneath my description for the same project. So far, this is my third attempt. This is a disaster. Maybe what the biggest learning that will come out of here is it's good if you have the right wood and also if you persevere, because I've had to persevere. I wanted Most bowls tend to be round, kind of a familiar shape, and I wanted to turn one that was a natural edge winged bowl, and I've turned several of those. I like those. I'll show one or two of them below. But I didn't have any green wood that was suitable. I had one blank that I thought was suitable, and then I cut it and started turning it, and I realized there wasn't any way I could put a tenon on it to hold it with a chuck, so I had to abandon that. The only other green piece of wood I had available was an ordinary piece of Bradford pear, and I didn't want to make just an ordinary bowl, but in addition, this was not the best candidate because there was some cracking existing here. I think when they took the tree down, it strained it and cracked it a few places. And after I finished turning the bowl, it just continued to crack. And I had some other issues with it. They'll show up probably in a bloopers video because I don't think I'm going to bother to show it to you here. But I did lose some bark, which is unusual because I've never lost bark on a Bradford pear bowl before. So let's get started. Green cherry, it's got a little bit of crack here, some cracks on the other side, but I think it'll probably be just fine. This side looks pretty good for a bit of a crotch piece. The back side, not so much. Big crack here. We'll see how it works out. First thing I do when I design a natural edge wing bowl is turn to this top and decide, where's the bowl going to go, because I tend to have it somewhat off balance. So I do that by getting various templates that I use for shaping bowls and just kind of try it out. So I look at the 5-inch, too small, 6-inch, really too small, 7-inch, maybe, but I'd like to turn the bowl the biggest I can find. So I find that the 8-inch I think will fit on here just fine. So I move it around a little bit to kind of get a little bit of wood all the way around it, and I think that's going to work out just fine. I'm just going to mark this with a felt tip pen so y'all can see what it looks like, and I can see it when I'm turning easily. Typically for a piece like this, I want to show the pieces of a crotch at an angle. I look to see if when it was previously cut, did I have any cracks. This side looks good, this side looks good. Unfortunately, this side's got a few cracks, so I'm just going to cut it back just a little bit and see how that. Then I examine the end to see how bad it looks with those cracks. In this case, I'm pleased. The crack along the rim disappeared. The cracks on the bottom are going to be turned away. Because of the balance, the uneven surface, the difficulty of trying to chuck this the normal way, I'm going to use a faceplate ring, which I prefer to a faceplate because it's just easy to slip it onto a chuck. So we're going to put a few holes here. Fasten one down first and then put in the rest of them. Use the appropriate size screw for your faceplate or faceplate ring. And do not use drywall screws because they are brittle and they will snap. This was not the ideal wood candidate, but I appealed to a friend of mine to see if he had anything, and I got this piece of ornamental cherry. It is green and it's not dry, but it was cracking. I'll show some pictures here showing some of the cracking. And in addition, I had challenges with my chainsaws. Too hot a day for me to get out and try to crank my Stihl chainsaw, so I used a electric chainsaw, and then it died on me. I think the switch went out, and it's a pretty nice saw so far until it quit working. And then I went and got an old Black & Decker I had that I haven't used. I've owned it for over 20 years, and it managed to just about get me through the blank, but this is not necessarily a well-sawed blank. My preference would be for one to be a little bit longer on the crotch pieces because this is going to be a crotch bowl. The challenge of a crotch bowl is they tend to be longer, even though this is only going to have a 9-inch, 8 to 9-inch opening bowl in the middle. From here to here is probably closer to 14 inches. So you need a good sized lathe to accommodate the imbalance and that large swing. So let's get started. I'm going to start off with a 5/8 inch bowl gouge, and I'm just going to work away the end here so I can get a little move in for a little better support. Stand aside when you're turning this on. I'm starting at a fairly slow speed, about 450. I'm going to come in here with a left-handed cut, push cut, just start knocking off the corners, turning a lot of air. Almost parallel, so the tool rest takes the brunt of this beating, going very slow. It's throwing off a lot of bark right now. All right, let me see. Feel some bark flapping. Gonna move my control to the closer to me so I can bump it with my hip. Yeah, so I got a feeling I'm gonna have a hard time keeping the bark on this thing. Let me make an attempt by just scoring this through here. Maybe I'll be able to keep it. I'm going to give up on this bark. There's no way this bark's going to hold. So the difference between a natural edge and a live edge, folks tend to use the two terms interchangeably. A live edge is when you still have the bark on it, technically, and a natural edge is just one where you leave the natural edge, and it may or may have the bark on it, depending on how you interpret the term. So now that I've cleared away a little bit, I can move in and have the post closer to where the tool is going to be for better support. And you got to be concerned about clearing the banjo. All right, back into the breech, and I think I can turn speed up just a little bit more now. About 625. 625. I'll be stopping periodically to look at it. I've still got, probably at least a good inch before I need to be concerned about it, but let me show you some of the challenges that I'm running into. Because of the problems with the chainsaw, I didn't get a nice clean cut on this. I've marked where I think it's going to be coming through and to be flat after I clean all of this off, but I'm probably shooting for almost a half an inch probably on the size of that wing, so I've got a ways to go. Still got to get some of the meat off here to better balance it. I'm hanging off the tool rest a bit, so let me see if I can't readjust the tool rest, get any more support now that I've cleared it a little bit more. Oh, banjo's hitting that way, so let's do it this way. Just nicking it there. Just going to nick it there. Let's turn it just a little bit. You got to really make sure everything clears on a winged bowl where you got this big propeller coming around. You can hear the propeller. Whoa, baby. Let's stop and analyze that. Okay, little risk mitigation I should have done when I said I should have removed the bark. I should have removed the bark because that big piece came flopping off. And across the top. I'll get the same issue this one. I don't take a chance to do it. I just. I should recognize the noise. Alright, I'm going to try something a little different with this tool rest. I'm going to pull it out a little bit, get it parallel, close to parallel with the wing, and then I've got pretty good support. Now, one trick is figure out where the furthest reach of this propeller is. And just kind of mark that with a piece of tape. That gives you some idea. Of course, your hand should never be in front of the tool rest undoing one of these. Still got quite a ways to go. I'm not even worried about, dealing with size here. I'm just reducing the wood to make it more balanced and easier to cut. If I can keep the tool rest parallel with the wing, it makes it a lot easier to control that cut as it comes around as you bring the cut towards you. Now, you can make these things curved. I just kind of prefer the straight one, so. Let's see how straight I'm getting it or keeping it. So far it's looking good. Curving up just a little bit. I need to lighten up when I get out here near the end and cut a little bit more here. I think this cherry is going to be real pretty when I finish with it. I've got probably another, a good inch I've got to bring down on this wing. Okay, needs to come down some more, but I think I'm going to go ahead and worry about the tenon now. And I'm going to put a big tenon for the biggest jaw set. Maybe not the biggest, but a big jaw set. Okay, I measure that. I'm getting pretty close. I just need to clean that dovetail up a little bit. For that, I always use my detail spindle gouge, 3/8 inch, because it's easy to get in. So now I'm going to go ahead and take off a little more here. Now let's get a measurement on just how wide this bowl is and how much we need to take it down. These 75 millimeter bowl jaws are really a very strong set of jaws. They're just a little bit bigger than the standard jaws with a Nova or Record Power, and they've got this large flat registering surface. They're much thicker, so they don't flex or anything. So it's a very strong bowl jaw set. totally unnecessary, but always have as much tailstock support as I can get for as long as I can get. Okay, now in this case, I want to make sure again it clears the banjo. Now we're going to take it down to that mark that I showed earlier, right there. So let's push this in a little bit more, I think. Get a little more support with the heaviest part of the tool rest. Again, we're going to use our 5/8 inch bowl gouge. Obviously this tape is in the wrong place, but you need to keep adjusting it, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, getting close to the even line, so I got some handsaw marks there I gotta get rid of. Yeah, getting close. And this off as well. Okay, I'm not sure. I wouldn't say the tool is dull, but it could be sharper. So let me go sharpen it. Okay, you can see it. I stopped at a pretty good time, although it's very, very thick. I want the rim of the bowl to stick up as far as the bowl rim is thick. And if you can see over here, I've got some really bad chainsaw work. So this has got to come down to here and then down another 3/8 or about maybe 3/8 of an inch. So I got plenty of time to refine it. So let's go ahead and adjust this, and let's just get a feel for what that size bowl is. I'm using calipers. This is 8 inches, so that's just about right. I'm going to keep that for reference, even though it's going to go down flat. I can take away a little bit of it. Whoa. Let's investigate. Got a little ticking noise. I think it's because the tailstock was not secured. Okay. I can tell it cuts noticeably better now that I've sharpened it. Roll it over a little bit more. Okay, it's still curving out a little bit, so I need to go in a little deeper here. I've just about gotten rid of the poor chainsaw work, so this is really going to be the top, so I'm going to go ahead and flatten that out just a little bit. Here, refine it a little bit. I'm going to switch to the 40 millimeter or 40 degree grind. Okay, I've gotten it flat. I like that. And I've gotten this just about the right thickness. Now I've got to try, I'm going to go ahead and try to clean up some of these tool marks. This is a challenge on this type of blank, is the tool marks. And I don't like to get in there with a scraper. So it's down a little bit here. I've just got to go real slow and just go real slow. Going to drop the handle and try to get a shear scrape. Okay, I'm fairly well pleased. I'm just going to have to do a lot of sanding. Still dropping down a little bit. I think I can go down a little bit more. I'm going to switch back to this one because I think it's the wider bevel. I think I'll get a better shear scrape. So let me drop the tool rest. Move this in a little bit. Yeah, I think that's about as good a cut up as I'm going to get. I've got a few cracks here in the rim. I hope they don't go too split up, but I do have it. It's fairly clean, and I've got this about the right height. Now I've got to get this the same height as that, and I'll do that from the other side. So I'll reverse it now. Before I reverse it, I've got to get these two planes equal so it looks like the bowl is coming through this wing continuous. This bowl is a little larger than this one. I can slope this incline it a little bit more, but I've still got to make this just a hair smaller. So let's do that before we reverse it. Okay. That's need to slant it just a little bit more. I think I'm going to come in there with a detail spindle gouge for that. Get a little, whoa. Get a little more slope. Okay. Now we'll reverse it. Okay, so I'm going to come in on the bowl, but I'm going to come out a little bit, make this at a slope. I'll slope this down as well. I'm going to go ahead and bring up tailstock support. Again, probably not necessary, but cheap insurance. Okay, so I'm going to use the half-inch bowl gouge and start changing the profile a little bit. Whoop, I bumped the shut off on my control. Very sensitive to hip bump, and that's a good thing. This height right here is, tighten that down, is the thickness that I want. So I've got about another 1/4 of an inch, and that'll be the same size rim going that way. Okay, now I've got to figure out how to clean that shoulder up a little bit. I could get this wing a little bit thicker, a little thinner, but not much. And I've still got to clean up a little bit. This is not too bad, a little bit here. I'm going to got some tool marks there. I'm just going to have to be real careful. I think I'm going to switch again to the larger one and go very, very slow. These tool marks are very difficult to sand out. I'm going to drop this down. I'm going to turn the speed up a bit. Okay. Drop the handle for a shear scrape. Okay, I'm fairly happy with that. I'm fairly happy with the thickness. It could probably be a little bit thinner. Got a couple of cracks here. Not too bad here. Nice clean shoulder. Got some tool marks right there. So I think I'm going to mark this with a piece of tape so I know exactly where that mark is. I've got to concentrate. So here's where, right there, is the beginning of that tool mark. Yep, okay. Yeah, I cleaned up quite a bit. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Now, I need a little bit of cleanup here. I want to bring that bowl in just a little bit there. So I think now is when I can get rid of the Tools Live Center support in order to get a better shape on the bottom. So I'm going to pick up, take that tape off, pick up the cut somewhere in here. Okay. It's a bit too low. Let's get that tool rest up a little bit. Clear, 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 clear. Okay. Look at the side. I've got, excuse me, just a little bit of a bump right here. This is chattering a bit, so let's go back to the larger bowl gouge. Tool rest is a bit high. When you switch back and forth, you got to keep making minor adjustments. I got just a few tool marks there I'm going to try to clean up, and it's just too awkward for me to try to get in there with a shear scraper. But I'm getting a nice clean surface cut. Still got just a little bit of a bump here on the edge. And it's almost got it. And I'm getting a little bit of a bump because I've got, part of that crotch coming through here, limb here and here and here, with some grain configuration that makes it a little bit more challenging. But that's not too bad. I'm ready to, I think I'm ready to reverse the bowl and hollow it out. Okay, I've gone ahead and sanded the back, mostly hand sanding with some power sanding. Time to reverse it, so we're going to take our faceplate ring off. So and set that down and go ahead and remove the screws. You don't testing. Okay. All right, so we got it mounted for us to hollow out the inside. I still need to take this back just a little bit here to get this height closer match to that, and I've got just a little bit of a bulge here, so let's take care of that first. We're just going to use that 40 millimeter gouge. Let's spin it, make sure this is parallel. Get the speed up a little bit. About 700, 800. And we're just going to barely come in here. Now let's just shear scrape that transition a little bit. A little bit of chatter. Switch to a detail gouge just to get right into the corner here. Still come down. No, but I'm not going. No, I think that's good. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark this with a narrow beading parting tool, because I want to have a shoulder and I want to mark it pretty close. So let's do it first with a pencil. Let's check that. Check this against that. That's pretty close. Okay. So let's just go ahead and finish marking this. And rather than risk a skate across, I'm going to take a parting tool and come in and make a shoulder to start that cut, because late in the day I'm getting tired and don't want to make any mistakes. Okay, and now I think we might want to put a depth, drill a depth hole. I think so. Okay, since we got a divot, we'll use that divot to do the depth hole. Well, let's make a little divot in there. Okay. I'm typically using this small 1/4 inch hand drill, but it's a little bit too short for this, so I do have a longer one occasionally where I've got a handle to brace it a little bit, and a little washer as a depth gauge. We've got to get rid of this. And the easiest way, because its side grain is cut in straight in. Let's make sure, spin that, lock this, lock that, turn it on. And we're just going to come in sideways. Actually, let's smooth it out first. Okay. I can see the bowl moving a little bit, so let's see what's going on with the chuck. I think I just need to take easier cuts. switch back to this half inch gouge. All right, let's stop and sharpen this tool. Okay, got a fresh edge, ready to go. Late in the day. Wood is extremely hard at the bottom. I'm dealing with end grain, but I'm also dealing with that feather. But that feather is going to look really pretty in the bottom of this bowl if I don't cut through it. And I think I've got a little ways to go. I'd rather make a shallower bowl and reduce the back side to keep that feather. I'll give you a close, yeah, you can see that. All right, let's clean this up here a little bit. I think the rim may be too thick. Let's measure and see. This, got that. No, just about right. And I've got a fairly clean wall there. Nothing but sanding, so I think I'm going to look at maybe getting in there with a scraper, or maybe I'll try a bottom feeder first. Use my bottom feeder bowl gouge and see if I can't clean this up a little bit. Tool rest is a little bit low. Worked for the 1/2 inch, does not work for a 5/8. Okay. I'm going to use a scraper. Let me go get a fresh burr on it. All right, I've got a conventional scraper. I'm going to come in here with my arm over it. You see that? Like this. Handle higher than the cutting edge. Just a light cut. Still got some unevenness here. It's the slightest cut. Back up. It's day 2. Yesterday was a long day, and I was exhausted with some other activities, so I had to pack it up early in the evening and not finish this bowl. So I packed it in the wet shavings, which I had a lot of, so it wouldn't crack overnight. And here it is, day 2. So I'm taking it out, and I'm going to thin out the back of the bowl. And I'm using the vacuum chuck I've got. I'm using this backer plate vacuum chuck because it gives very strong suction, as long as I've got a flat surface to register against, and which in case I do, because the top of this is not moved or anything. I've got some amazing feather in the bottom of the bowl, so I can't go any deeper with the bowl, but the bowl is too thick. So if I go any deeper, I'm going to cut away this feather. So I'm going to make the bottom of I'm going to reduce the bowl wall through here in order to get a more appropriate size wall thickness. So let me place this in here using that dimple that allows me to pre-register. Okay, so now I'm going to continue the wall thickness from here. This is fine because it matches the profile on the other side. I'm going to reduce it from here to here. I measured this wall thickness through here, and it's 1 5/8 at the bottom and over a 1 inch through here. So I'm just going to change the shape, but not reduce it here, but just change that profile. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going back to using that half inch gouge. The other plan is I'm not going to have a foot. I'm not going to have a foot on here because this is going to be used in a display orientation. Uh-oh, do I see a crack there? Or is that just a mark? I don't know. I hope it's not a crack. If so, grain's going in a strange direction, so I think it's just some kind of scratch. In any case, I'm going to round the bottom because of the way I'm going to display this, and I'll show you that later. I don't have to turn the vacuum chuck on until I finish the bottom. Meanwhile, I'm just using that backer plate. Since I know it's a little bit tighter, I think I have it centered, but it does seem to be wobbling a little bit off balance, and it is. So I think I may bring in a different drive center, but I think this will probably be all right. Okay, that's centered a little bit better. So I'm going to reduce the thickness of the bottom first. Move the banjo a little bit. I've got to be careful how I move because of this. Let's make sure the tool rest, let's say, is what needs to be moved. I'm going to deal with this, and then I'll come on back. That's looking good. That's looking good. I've just got to taper this in because I don't want to change this right here. Okay, I've used a bowl gouge to take this down some, but I've got some tool marks, so I'm going to use this old Harbor Freight 1-inch skew that's been refined as a double-sided shear scraper to kind of clean up fair those curves a little bit. So I've got a fresh burr on it. Well, unfortunately, they got a challenge getting in there because the tailstock's in the way, and I'm a little reluctant to put too much effort on the side here, even with that vacuum truck. I'll try to turn on to that. Well, gotta think about how I'm going to get in there. I can come around, got a little more free room on this side, so let's get back to this one. Okay, yeah, that's turned out pretty nice. I think I've got a few tiny ripples, but I think sanding will take care of that. Now I've got to continue this curve around and remove this big block of wood at the bottom. This great big balls, and I'll just come in there hitting side grain. If you do it this way, you're going to be hitting a lot of end grain. Not the best cut. This way is the easiest way, so let's just turn that up a little bit. I sanded the back after I reduced this, brought it down, and I sanded it. So. Getting near the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the vacuum chuck. It's a large area under there, so there is a tremendous amount of vacuum pressure. I want to turn this while it's moving. Okay, time to start cleaning that nub out. I'm going to switch to the 3/8" detail gouge because I can't get this just too wet. Just a little bit closer. There's another way to do that. I think I can probably switch to a smaller tool rest. Now I can go ahead and turn off the vacuum chuck and it just releases. Well, this was a fun project, even despite all the trials and tribulations and the time constraints that I had being out of the country for a couple of weeks and having struggles with the wood. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to do the final sanding and add finish. That'll come later. But if you want to see how I display this as shown in the picture here, click on the video above. And I hope you'll take advantage of the links that I have in the show notes underneath the description to the other members' videos of this same project, other members of the four-way collaboration. Remember, y'all stay safe and come on back here.